Okay, so they've asked me to go over a few rules as we get started here. Our opening remarks will have 2 minutes for each candidate. I'll draw a name in a second, and we'll start with that candidate, and then we'll move down the table through the rest of the questions, starting with a different person each time, to make it kind of fair so not everybody gets to go first or last or whatever. If you'll watch the Youth City Council here, you'll get a yellow card of 10 seconds to wrap up. A red card means you're done. We have some online questions that I have, along with, we'll have questions from the audience. We'll alternate, we'll do an online question, then we'll do an audience question and kind of alternate like that till our time's up. You'll each have 1 minute to respond to the question, in the order that we start with. And then at the end, each candidate will have 1 minute for closing remarks. So with that being said, I will just draw out of the bucket here that Heather had. And we'll start with Mike Mendenhall. So from there forward, we'll go Mike and then Steve and come back down this way, okay?
Thank you. There we go. It's great to be here. It's great to be here in this place, in the Senior Center. And it's great that the Chamber of Commerce is hosting this debate. If you know me, I have an affinity for both of those things, for this place, the Senior Center, and the Chamber of Commerce. I was lucky enough to serve as the president of the Chamber in 2011, and this facility has a lot of fond memories to me as well. This is where my grandparents came and participated in senior activities, and I had to lug a big organ in there sometimes for my grandpa to come in here and play it for the seniors. So I didn't play it myself. I have a brother that did that, but I have a lot of memories of this place, and I have a lot of memories of Spanish Fork. I'm married with some kids. My wife, Amber Gesselson, is from Spanish Fork. We have 3 children, Nash, Monroe, and Jagger, and a dog and a cat, and the house is crazy, but that's how it is in life. I grew up here in Spanish Fork. Parents are John and Lena Mendenhall. I went to high school just down the road, and now I work just up the road. I work at a bank, a community bank here on Main Street. And as Amber and I were walking in, we walked past our first home after we got married, right here next door in the basement. So we have some fond memories of this city. We love this city. When we chose to start our careers, both of us worked over in Provo and Orem. But we knew we wanted to live in Spanish Fork, and that's what we've been doing ever since. I've been lucky enough to serve in a few different capacities in the city, but the last 4 years as a member of the City Council, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
Oh, me? Yeah. Okay. Great. I'm Steve Laibson. I was born and raised here in Spanish Fork. Also went to school down here, Spanish Fork High School, graduated, received an associate degree in construction management at Trade Tech. It's now the UVU. I'm a small business owner. The president and owner of SML Construction. I'm a 4th generation builder here in Spanish Fork. I married Cheryl Cosgray Laibson, and she teaches kindergarten up at Park Elementary. She had to find someone on my level there, so it worked out really good. Also, we have 6 children, 8 grandchildren. We did foster parenting for 14 years, which was awesome. I love working here in the city. I've volunteered as a coach, youth coach, coached all sorts of ball teams down here in Spanish Fork. I love to volunteer and serve with the city celebrations and city work projects. I've been involved with the Fiesta Day Parade for years and years. I've served as the parade chairman twice on that. We have a great city here that we live in. I've enjoyed raising my family here in this city. I love taking my grandkids to all the activities that we have here in town, from the splash pad to the trail system to all the activities we have in Fiesta Days. Last year, I was able to take my grandson to the planes, trains, and automobiles, and he got a helicopter ride. So it's great. We have great things here and appreciate it being in the city.
Hi, my name is Chad Argal. I'm also born and raised in Spanish Fork. My parents are Joyce and Bud Swanner. I married Teresa Argal. We have 4 children and 11 grandchildren. I retired after 33 years working for a communication company and been retired for 6 years. I also attended UVU, and I have a electronic engineering degree from the Tech at the time, now the UVU. My family has been members of this community. They owned a small business on Main Street, which I spent a lot of time on Main Street. Growing up with that store, knew most of the people on Main Street back then. Our city has grown so much and so big now. I have served on, right now I'm serving as a councilman. I have served on the senior board, which I have been honored to do so. We have such an awesome center here in Spanish Fork, and the seniors have been wonderful to me. I've enjoyed serving them. Also serve at the animal shelter and on the Utah Lake Commission, which their charge is to essentially heal Utah Lake and continue to have it such a great place for us as recreation and water source that live around that lake. I enjoy serving. I enjoy learning about our city. We do have a great city. One of the most important things to me is our families, and Spanish Fork is a great place to live and raise a family. Thank you.
Okay. Dennis?
Well, I can say ditto to what they've said. I was born 2 blocks down north of here, and it's now an apartment building, but it's Hughes Memorial Hospital. I was kind of a Easter Eve baby. My parents lived in Riverbottom, so I can't say I was raised in Spanish Fork. They lived the first house in the county in River Bottoms. I've enjoyed living there. My parents were James B. Sorensen and Isla Mae Sorensen. They worked down here at the Senior Citizen. Mom cooked and Dad drove the bus, and they just loved it. So I got to love this place also. My mother-in-law still volunteers down here. I went to school here on the Central School and then also to the high school. I started out my career in working on the farm. I did that for many years. At 14, I was driving a 6-ton combine doing commercial cutting for grain. The Gordons family, I know them all real well. Mike's dad, great people. Kira, I don't know you that well, but I enjoy you really a lot. I too serve on the technical board for the Utah Lake, and I have done so for 10 years. And I'm part of that board is we tell the commission what our ideas should be on that. It's not always what it seems. There's a lot of fake news going on about the lake. I wish I could correct that, but it's already been done. I work currently now for the Spanish Fork City. I love it. I've had an enjoyable time, and I soon will retire in 2.5 months. I started at this end of Main Street in the Saturday auction. I ended up at that end of Main Street after working through 4C's Bratch Auto Parts and Harvard Irrigation. I love this city, and I want to serve. Thank you.
Here.
Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. What a wonderful opportunity it is to be able to meet as citizens. Appreciate everyone who's come tonight and those that are watching on TV. This is really what I teach my school kids about. I'm an elementary school teacher up at Larson Elementary. My wife Robin and I, we chose to live in Spanish Fork 15 years ago. We're a product of the Parks and Rec Department. We play, being over 6 foot and at least used to be able to jump, I played basketball and got invited to play, and we love the community, the hometown feel, all the amenities that are available for fun, that we decided to stay. We have 4 children, and one grandchild. I'm a grandfather, which I find odd because I don't have as much white hair as I think I should have for such an important position, but you know, you can make do and do the best you can with that. I'm also an intelligence officer for the Army National Guard. I've had a 20-year career with the military, still going strong as a lieutenant colonel. A lot of my job there is strategic intelligence. I've had the opportunity to travel around the world to Afghanistan, Iraq, many places through Latin America as a Spanish linguist, and I can say that one of the best places, if not the best place, that I've ever been is Spanish Fork, which is why my wife and I chose to live here, because of the people, because of the quality of life. One of the great things about living here in Spanish Fork is the opportunity to serve. We have great volunteers. I'm sure that will be mentioned tonight with each of the different candidates. But the opportunity to be able to volunteer and serve in a community, to be able to be coaches, to be able to serve as a city councilman, as mayor, as candidates, all the things that we have at our disposal to be able to serve as a community really make this community great. That's one of the things that I teach my kids at school, teach them about the opportunity to serve in whatever they do. I'm grateful to be able to serve as your councilman and look forward to speaking with you tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good job. We'll now move on to a question from the online audience that Heather has. We'll start with Steve, and everybody will answer the same question. And then on the next question, we'll move on to Chad and kind of go in that fashion if that'll work. Traffic is a hot topic here in Spanish Fork. What are the plans for improving Main Street have come through the pipeline and other feeder streets to main roads that have become packed with cars during the busy times? What are your plans to improve that?
Well, we've definitely realized that that is an issue here, and we've been working diligently on that. One of my platforms is to help alleviate the traffic by getting another on-off ramp here in Spanish Fork. We've been working very hard with UDOT to get an on-off ramp between Springville and Spanish Fork out there where Smith Auto used to be. It's Tim Dolly Ford now. Working really hard to get that to happen. We've talked to a lot of our state legislators and working with UDOT. We've been able to move that project up from a second phase up to a first phase, and not only on a first phase, but up to a third deal there. So by doing that, getting another on-off ramp, that will help alleviate some of that traffic on Main Street and help with the traffic there. Thank you.
Just go. So traffic is a huge issue with Spanish Fork City. As Steve has mentioned, some of the things that are in the work, it is a state road, and I am excited to hear some of these things that's happened as these off-ramps open up. We have a lot of traffic from Salem. What I would hope to do is, you know, we're real good at building roads, making them wider and bigger, but there are other technologies that we need to employ to route people off of Highway Main Street, Highway 6, or Main Street, and make it less. Because I know many times the citizens have come to us and said, you know, I hate to even go downtown because it's so busy, especially at the end of the day. So would hope that we can continue to work some of them with technologies and mass transit and lessen that traffic on Main Street so people can enjoy to come to this downtown and enjoy the stores that are on Main Street.
Having worked for the city, I've been watching that. I used to deliver trash cans around, and it would take you so long to come up on the bench where my children live to come down here. Main Street is horrible, but I know that they're with the with the off-ramp coming, and they're going to have plans to build a road from off the top of the bench down to like Walmart in that area. That'll help alleviate with that, and I hope we see that. There's a lot of things we can do, and I'm just getting started with it. But when I had to wait 40 minutes to get out of my mother-in-law's back driveway, coming onto 4th North, that was a kind of an eye-opener. Just one car after another. It's exciting to see the growth, but I agree, we need to work together and do it. Thank you.
My plan to improve traffic, First is drive it. Something that I think is very important is getting out and doing the roads. As a councilman and as a council and mayor, we've talked with city staff to do traffic studies to look at different things to be able to improve that. Some of it's just the common sense of driving it, which I do regularly, living and working here in Spanish Fork, drive the roads. And I plan to continue to do that to see what makes sense. Secondly, it's realizing that there's more than just one type of traffic. There's foot traffic, there's bicycle traffic, and realizing that what may work for car traffic doesn't always work for foot traffic and the kids walking home from school. And so being aware of citizens that have issues in their neighborhoods, of kids that may be in a difficult or challenging situation, something I've been able to accomplish in bringing that to light with engineering and with police chief. And so it's really finding those ways to be able to improve traffic of all types and safety for our citizens as they go through. That's really one of the keys to improving traffic, is understanding what it is in real life.
I work on Main Street. I spend more time on Main Street maybe than I do with my family at home. I've worked there for 11 years. I have over 20 clients, small businesses that do business on Main Street. Main Street is as important to me as just about anything in our community. And I have a love for it. We shop there as much as we can as a family. I'm proud of some of the studies we've been able to accomplish that have brought us to some key points right now where you're going to see some changes. You're going to see some bike lanes added to Main Street. You're going to see some things that maybe some calming traffic measures there. The real solution to traffic on Main Street is to make walkable communities in other parts of the city. I live on the east end of town. If we have more options to maybe do some shopping on the east end of town like we're getting right now, that'll reduce trips down to Main Street for the east end of town and help alleviate that traffic. So I'm excited to see those happen.
Okay, we're going to open it up now to a question from the audience. We want to keep these kind of as short and succinct as you can, so it's easier for them to answer instead of a multi-tiered question. So who's got a question? Okay, so the question is, what's your number one priority for Spanish Fork, and how do you plan on addressing that? And we'll start with Chad.
So mine right now is communication. I think in this day and age, it is imperative that as city government that we communicate with our citizens. It's pretty upsetting when you go to a meeting and we're overwhelmed with, I never heard about it, I didn't hear about that. I would like to see technology utilized. In this day and age, it's pretty easy. Everybody is using their device to communicate with each other. And I would like to just encourage to do that and the city get better at it. We have such an awesome Channel 17, awesome opportunity to use and utilize this. And I believe we need a PR person full-time to help us to communicate to the citizens.
My priorities is maybe a little different because the infrastructure of this town is great and electrical, and they've had good people with water. But the city is limited to how many houses can go in if we don't have a sewer plant and the sewer lines that are capable of meeting that demand. Right now, there are some questions at the sewer plant. We've reached a safety point where we're going to need to start remodeling, and that's not inexpensive. There's demands on us from the EPA and the State Division of Water Quality because of Utah Lake that's going to cost considerably a large amount of money. I've been doing that for 22 years, almost 23 here in town. And I look to help these men understand and the community understand the need for that. And that's where impact money comes. That's the same priorities they have, but that's another one of mine. Thank you.
First, welcome to town. It's wonderful to have you here. I hope you enjoy your time as you live with us. We're happy to have a new friend. So thank you for being here tonight. When I first moved to town, when my wife and I first moved to Spanish Fork, I left for Iraq about 3 months after I arrived. So safety was something that was a big concern for me as well, leaving a young family behind at that period of time. And I take safety very seriously as a result because of how it affected me, how it affects each of us. One of the things for me, the priority is making sure that we have the officers, that our EMS crews have the equipment and the things they need. As a council, we've been able to ensure that 4 new officers have been hired recently. We also have a full-time victims advocate. Unfortunately, despite all we can do, sometimes we need to have that safety net when things do happen. And so that's a wonderful opportunity to be able to have that full-time assistance for our community.
Mike?
My number one priority is the health and safety of our citizens. I think that's the at least local government's most important role, is the health and safety of our citizens. Keir mentioned a couple accomplishments we've had recently in adding to our police officers and making sure we can help people when they need help. The other side of that is the health of our citizens. I've learned in the past couple of years that our chief gets a call a day of suicide. Our policemen deal with mental health just as much or more than they deal with physical health of our citizens. So my number one priority is help the physical and mental health of our citizens after keeping them safe. We've been lucky enough, I was lucky enough to be part of obtaining a grant from Intermountain Healthcare that has helped a long way in those programs, and I'd like to continue to see that through to help the health and safety of our citizens.
Steve?
These are all good, all those that have been mentioned, but one thing that I've really advocated is our transportation and our infrastructure. When I was a city council, I was on the city council for 2 terms, 8 years. It started with the I-Corps project. At that time, they weren't coming all the way down to Spanish Fork. Through working with our state and local officials, and even going back to Washington, D.C., meeting with some of our senators back there, we were able to get them to bring that down to us. Now the next project I'm working on is getting that on-off ramp. So we've got Canyon Creek out there. When it's done, there'll be over 1 million square feet of retail space. So we've got to have the infrastructure for that. Also, we've got to have that freeway access so we can alleviate the transportation problems that we have there and make sure Spanish Fork goes nice and smooth.
Okay, we will now ask another question from our online audience. What can we do about the abandoned buildings around the city? They're becoming eyesores and a place for illegal activities. Is there money somewhere for these to be taken down? And we will start with Dennis.
Well, you know, I'm kind of off the. I know these buildings. I knew when they were occupied, and I see them lacking now. There's got to be a way we can get people interested in taking over these buildings. Maybe, I don't know if we have the budget in the city yet, but I think we could try to revitalize business. I know there is businesses that are coming into some of the buildings pretty soon, and they're working on it. That's one way to try to do it, is find a specialty that they can put along Main Street. I take it that a lot of that's about Main Street because there are some empty buildings. That's one of my things I've thought about for many years, having worked on Main Street most of my adult life. We need to take care of it, and I will learn. Thank you.
You know, abandoned buildings are an interesting thing. If you're a photographer, there's something that are really neat architecturally to be able to get shadows and tones and things like that as you take pictures. But at the same time, as the question's been brought up, they're a concern for a lot of people that live right across the street from them or live just in the neighborhood. One of the challenges certainly is safety. Our youth will find any way to get into those abandoned buildings, no matter how many fences there are. The challenge is that it's private property. The government generally isn't in the business of spending money to destroy someone else's property unless that's a last-ditch resort. Now, abandoned building could be a last-ditch resort, but there's things that we could do to be able to talk, and diplomacy, that word's thrown out a lot, but really to be able to have that interpersonal relationship with the landowners, realizing that it is their land and we have to defend their right to have that building, because if we can't defend their right to have the building, we certainly can't defend your right to have your house and property.
I'm in favor of using a carrot instead of a stick when it comes to projects like this. Last night we approved an abandoned building that's very noticeable in Spanish Fork. That'll be a beautiful apartment complex in downtown Spanish Fork. I think my business background helps to look at these instances and where we can help as a government to incentivize or entice development of those abandoned buildings. What you're going to see is millions of dollars being spent downtown in Spanish Fork in just a couple months in one of the abandoned buildings that I'm sure that resident is referring to. And it's because Spanish Fork is a place that's open for business, that knows a thing or two about business and is willing to work with a developer that's willing to take a risk with that private property and turn it into something better than it was.
As Mike said, there are some businesses. The old Reese School building, we just approved that last night, and that's going to be turned into a beautiful piece of property now. That building will be tore down. On Main Street, the old Joanne's building, they're turning that into Griffles right now, and so those things are happening. Years ago, downtown Main Street, we had a lot of vacant buildings, and over time, you know, people have moved in there, taken care of them, upgraded them, built them. You know, a lot of times we get the question, I get a call saying, hey, Mayor, what are you going to do about this building, or what are you going to do about that? And I said, well, we don't own that building. That's private property. We can work with those owners and try to make them, help them improve their buildings. And over the years, you'll see we made a conscious effort on Main Street to bring more people down there, and those owners down there are now sprucing up their buildings and taking over some of those buildings that have been abandoned.
Chad?
When I was growing up, an abandoned building or a home was a great thing because you got an opportunity to throw rocks at it, knock the windows out, and get inside it, find out what is in it. In this day and age, it is a little different. I do believe that one thing that has to be important is property rights. That is owned by somebody. It is not owned by the city. If the city did own it, then we could make decisions about it. And we need to be real careful, as Keir said, about trampling on them rights. But we also need to be aware of these abandoned buildings because they can be inhabited by undesirable stuff, and we need to be aware of that in our cities because a lot of these are close to neighborhoods and in neighborhoods. As it's been mentioned, one of them is a great success story that I'm sure that most people has complained about is Reese School. Excited about seeing that. As we can encourage that and helpfully work with these owners to make something good out of those abandoned buildings and use them as a positive in our community.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now go back to a question from the community. Has anybody got a question they'd like to ask of these gentlemen? Okay, I think the question is, what is your ideas to improve Main Street and what's happening there? And we'll start with Keir.
Wonderful. You know, Main Street is a great gathering place. It has from the time you were on the council even until today. We have the parade that comes through. We've had opportunities to be able to welcome home softball and baseball and soccer champions here in our community. And so to be able to have that center of our town, really the heartbeat, is wonderful. Things that have taken place, the Memorial Park, Memorial Square, there by Zions Bank was redesigned, was renovated. A lot of things that working with the commission downtown on Main and their ideas from the local businesses, really to try to help keep that alive and thriving. As Councilman Mendenhall had talked about, the bike lanes, really trying to bring more traffic, more people to Main Street, not to congest it, but really to be able to allow it to be that heartbeat, to be that main part of town. Other things that are coming are businesses, as have been mentioned already, and really working with the businesses that are here, as well as our new friends that come to town, to really make it a nice and enjoyable place to be.
We had a study done a couple of years ago that I was, again, proud to be a part of. It's called the CPAP program. It brought architects from all over the nation, from Boston, New York, from the West Coast as well, to look at our Main Street and say, hey, let's not reinvent the wheel here. What have other cities done when they've grown? And Main Street doesn't stay stagnant. It's either improving or it's declining. It won't stay the same. And so improvements like the bank that I work at are great improvements to Main Street. Also, some of the restaurants that are coming, that have come, and I know some that are under construction. I'm really excited to see the progress of Main Street. Those bike lanes that are happening, the activities that we have for free downtown in the park during the summer are great events to bring families down there and rediscover Main Street. Because, frankly, a lot of the east side, if you don't find ways to bring them downtown, they forget that there is a Main Street and that you can get a lot of stuff on Main Street. So a lot of exciting things happening.
Yeah, Main Street's, we've looked at that really a lot because it's really a gem down there. The flower beds that we have down there, my aunt comes over from Orem and she loves driving down Main Street and seeing all those flower beds, and you know that's a great thing. Here a few weeks ago, Senator Lee came with a group out of Washington, D.C. that was talking about internet businesses. And as we walked down Main Street, as I walked down with Senator Lee, we went into different businesses and that uses internet in their business. And to show how vibrant our downtown is by people going on there and doing it on the web and selling their stuff on the internet. So we're very conscious of our people there on Main Street. We're doing what we can to make that come back. We're doing the movie in the park, trying to bring people down there, doing fairs on Saturday. So people will come down to our Main Street and bring our food trucks down and get back here the way it was when we were kids.
I love our Main Street. I believe it is the heart of Spanish Fork. The one thing I'd like to see is get the citizens of Spanish Fork to know more about what's on Main Street and use the businesses and come and associate with those businesses. We recently opened the Old Angeles Theater. Not as a theater, but they have a stage, and they've already had events there previous, and Kurt Gordon's continuing to renovate that and encourage. The Chamber does a great job in having a business of the month and showing them. Every now and then, if you watch Channel 17, you get a chance to see Goose in the Wild, and George and Rob come and see a business and tell you about it and what's going on. And today's environment, they can use the internet, and that has a great improvement. But I would like to see us communicate more to the citizens so they know what's on Main Street, and they'll come to them businesses.
Dennis?
Well, having worked on Main Street for a while, like Chad, I spent a lot of time on Main Street. I'd thought about that for some time before I even thought about running. Parking seems to be a real problem on Main Street, and the city knows that. And I know that the city's offered some of the businesses to increase the parking on behind the stores. I think you do that, it'll help a lot. I think that the flower beds were a great deal. Working for Harvards, I designed those flower beds and the irrigation system for them. The original design down here, I also did the water sprinkling system for the park across from Zion's. I've getting involved in a lot of things. Parking, I think, would help, and then more communication on what is on Main Street. We need that to draw the people down. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to the sheet. I think that this question I should answer instead of you guys, but we're going to go with it anyway because it's on here. Some cities have saved money by working out agreements to share service with other nearby cities. Perhaps this could be an option for Spanish Fork with the new Springvale-Clyde Recreation Center. Do you see this as a possibility, pros and cons? And Mike, you get to go first.
Yeah, well, we've explored some of that. We've been talking to Springville about that. The concern that I definitely have I'll be over there at the ribbon cutting. I'm excited to see it, and I hope there's room. I hope there's room for us. Springville had another great reservoir that they built, and ended up getting too full with cars. They had to charge people that weren't residents $10 a day. Was it a day, Craig? I mean, my goodness, you ought to be answering that question. But it's a great amenity, and frankly, it those great amenities do attract people, and I don't blame Springville for wanting to have a first right of it with the citizens that are paying for it through their taxes. But we work well with our neighbors, both Payson, Springville, Provo, neighbors all up and down the Wasatch Front, and I wouldn't think Springville would stop talking to us over any ideas we have of collaboration.
Thanks, Steve.
Over the years, being on the council, being as mayor, we've worked really closely with Springville on many things, and anything that we can do to share things and costs, we do that. We do that with all our neighboring cities. One particular we do with our fire department. We work closely with the county that we contract to go send our fire trucks to fires in the county, and we can be the first responders on that. And also with our police department, if there are certain things that we can do, we do. So anytime that we can share costs, we used to share costs with Salem over a truck that we could film sewer lines and water lines, and so until we bought our own. And so we're always looking ways to save money and work with our neighbors, and we love our neighbors, and we will do whatever we can. If it works and is cost efficient for both cities, we'll explore those opportunities.
Chad?
So I'll probably just echo what the rest of them said, because we do have a great relationship with our neighboring communities. In particular, as Springville's building a rec center, we'll continue to look at that, and when that opens up, a great asset to Springville, and it's possible to share that with possibly the citizens of Spanish Fork. We'll have to take a serious look at that, and the cost, and the improvement of the quality of life to Spanish Fork. We in Spanish Fork love those things, the outdoors. As Mike mentioned a little bit ago, our health and wellness and our trails and paths, they all lead to each one of the cities. So with them building this rec center a little closer, it may be contagious for us to be a part of that, and we'll have to continue to look at that.
I've had an opportunity to work with our cities, other cities where I work. I run the wastewater treatment plant and all the collection lines in Spanish Fork. As mentioned by the mayor, we've traded work helping each other out with our vac trucks to clean out the sewer lines. Also, the video truck we've used quite a bit to help them. They've helped us. I've hired people that worked at Provo City, and they worked for me also, keeping the costs down so we could get the extra employee with a little cost. Currently looking at working with Springville and Payson and Salem for a pre-treatment coordinator that we'll need. I've been doing that, but when I retire, there's no one left to do it. So I'm trying to work with them to find one person that can do both. The rec center, everything that I have to say is great, and I love the trails. And thank you.
Here?
Is it a good idea or a bad idea for cities to share services such as the rec center? Rec center has been talked an awful lot about. It's a very good idea for cities to share services. Our fire department has already been mentioned, responds well to the county. Our police department, I've had the opportunity in my time on the council to be able to ride along with a deputy from the Utah County Sheriff. I've also ridden a number of times with our own officers here in Spanish Fork to be able to look at their needs and the calls that they have. We have a wonderful working relationship. Chief Adams does a fantastic job in his relationship, and as a council, our relationship with the different cities, so that as the cities have a call that perhaps may occupy all of their officers, our city is able to step in and be able to be there to help with their safety and security. Likewise, if we have a situation where we have lower manpower because of a particular call or emergency, those cities come here. So being able to share and support each other as a greater community is a very good thing, especially to be able to share costs and keep costs low.
Thanks. Okay, so the question would be, what are your plans for improving the library and the senior center?
Right,
Correct.
if you want to include the rec center in there besides just.
It's up to you. You can include the rec center if you would like. And we will start with Steve.
Oh, is it my turn? Great. As you know, we had the Life Center and library and senior citizen on a bond, and it was voted down. So since that happened, our focus, at least my focus is on the library now. And so we're doing things that we can to look at a location where we can put the library. And we've been in talks with some landowners with some property that we think would be really good for a new library, close to where it is now. And so as we're working that through, you know, libraries are great. When I was a kid, you know, I didn't know you're supposed to go to the library and get books. You know, I thought it was just a place to go meet girls. But as I take my grandkids and go down there, I walked in there and that place is packed, and we need a new library. There's no question. People say, well, in this day and age with the internet, you don't need libraries. We do. It's a vital part of the city, and we're looking, and we've been talking as a mayor and council to make sure that we get that done.
Some of the things that Mayor Laibson talked about is our library is a priority. If you're there, Pam, who's the director of the library, she does an awesome job with this library and keeping the citizens of our community wanting to read and learn. Last I heard, 250,000 visits a year to that library. It's awesome. We're going down that road as quick as we can. Government doesn't move as fast as we'd probably like to, but we have a plan in play to replace that and build a new library. Some of the other things, the Senior Citizen Center is it is when they have their membership meal, it is very full, and the membership of the seniors are growing rapidly. They're increasing their membership, and that will continue to do. So we'll need to look at that as we go down the road. We've had a few things to improve, and the parking and some other things, so we will continue to look at those things in the future.
Okay.
I mentioned something that on the Spanish Fork website, not website, but the Facebook page. And I made a comment about that because I was thinking, you know, computers, do they really use it? So I talked to staff about it, and they said that we're not really checking out books any more than we used to. But the point is, I remember going to the library in the old white building in the top of the big building where they had there, that house, hearing story time and having them read. These children go there for that. They have a lot of things they can learn. I've seen pictures of the mayor in there reading to them, and I'd love to do that too. We need this for those kids and other people to have a place to go, get entertained, and be able to learn to love to read. I'm old-fashioned. I like to have the book in my hand. I can read it on my phone or I can read it on TV, but there's something about it in your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, what are my priorities? Well, first, the rec center's been mentioned. I don't have a priority personally to be able to resurrect the rec center right now. Talking about it being voted down, what a wonderful exercise it was, though, in government by the people, being able to see people vote and weigh in on that topic. My priority right now is the library. I'm on the library board. It's one of the committees that I serve on. Pam Jackson, in one of our recent meetings and talking with her, she's had to remove books that were published in 2014 because there simply isn't room. And those are books that were published just 3 years ago. And there just isn't room for that type of a collection. So that's really my first priority, working with the members of that committee. The council, as has been mentioned, has looked at options and opportunities to be able to either purchase land, working with landowners to improve that. So for me, that's the first priority is the library.
I appreciate the question. I appreciate you being concerned about that. Spanish Fork, the secret of Spanish Fork, why people love to come here, the people are good people, and they want to get involved and serve each other, and the quality of life. And the library and the senior center goes into a quality of life for Spanish Fork. There were a lot of positives about the Life Center proposal. The biggest negative was the cost of what it would cost us as taxpayers. So there's not an easy answer of redoing the library or redoing the senior center without substantial cost to it. But we have taken steps as a council. It's public knowledge that we've purchased homes, on this very block that are projected to help us expand that area. When I first started looking at this, I had a similar thought of who uses the library anymore. 411,000 visits one year when Pam showed me. So it is one of the most used facilities in our city. So it is a priority for me to put that plan in place and continue forward to get us a library we can fit in.
Thank you. We'll go back to a question. Maybe we'll get into something a little harder here. With increased business in Spanish Fork City and with many new stores brings many more people, we've had several panhandlers in the area standing on street corners asking the citizens for money. Any thoughts or ideas on this issue and how it can be handled by the city? And we'll start with Chad.
Well, as I've watched what Salt Lake County has gone through, and actually been up there and visited and even worked up there at a time and had an opportunity to serve some of those homes up there, no doubt that will continue. As times get tough, we're in good times, but that'll continue. That we hopefully can address that in a humane manner. We know that some of these are in desperate need. We know that some of them are just out there getting money for one other reason. They probably live better than I do. They're not paying taxes and stuff. But the biggest thing that we have right now is we have a curfew on our parks and our streets, which is a good thing because it keeps them off them parks and out of them, and we'll continue to do that and address them as hopefully we can stay ahead of that rather than get behind the ball in the future.
That is a touchy issue. I look at those people and my heart goes out to them and I want to help them. But I also know that studies have been done that, it's just Chad has mentioned, that a lot of these people are working on the hearts of the people to gather money, just do nothing more than make a good living and not pay taxes. I don't feel like all of them are that way. They need help. They're working on it. I wish I had the answer. I wish I had the money to make it sure they didn't have to worry about that. But I don't know what to do yet. And I look forward to working with everybody. Everyone has a good idea, and we can put those together and come up with it. And I hope we can do that someday.
There are certain restrictions by state law and regulations as to what the city can stop by way of action. Certainly there's free speech, and in the day and age we live in, someone standing on the corner with a sign saying feed me is considered free speech. Now that being said, I look at my daughter as a young mother when she was married, and even myself at that age, there were times where I was one paycheck away from worrying about standing on a street corner holding out a sign, wondering if I was going to eat. The things that the city does are more aligned to safety, looking at safety of the people standing on the corner, looking at the safety of those driving by, concerned for that family's welfare. There are things in our community like Tabitha's Way, the Chamber of Commerce, and other things that our community does and rallies around to be able to help these individuals. I think most importantly is that we keep a watchful eye for each other, that everyone is safe that's in our community, but that we're also mindful of the needs, however we feel impressed, to be able to help them.
We're not the first to deal with this problem. I'm a big proponent of not reinventing the wheel. There's other communities that have had effective things. There's other lessons that they've learned. I sat in a Utah Women's Legislative Council meeting yesterday, hosted by one of our locals, Mrs. Herron, that's the president of it right now, and it dealt with homelessness, and homelessness deals a lot with this panhandling issue. And with the recent events up in Salt Lake, you're squeezing a balloon, and that balloon comes out elsewhere with access to transportation that gets folks down to Utah County. So we are seeing an increase of it, and we're going to see an increase of it, and we better be on the forefront thinking about solving the problems. I'm a proud member of Tabitha's Way and their board to help the people that you can help. Some people choose that life, but there are some people you can help, and I've seen miracles happen there on nearly a monthly basis. So I'm excited for the city to continue their relationship with the nonprofits like Tabitha's Way and the other people that are involved in that problem to help solve it. We can do it.
Thanks. Steve?
Yeah, I think everyone's covered that pretty good, and I agree with everyone that said that. We need to show compassion to those individuals. We don't know their circumstances. We don't know what happened to them. A lot of times there might be some that are just out to make a buck here and there, but I think the majority of them are really in need. And if we can work as a city, working through those organizations like Mike said, through Tabitha's Way and other organizations that we have here, to reach out to those individuals and see what we can do in a humane way, work with the Chief Adams and his department, and come up with a way that we can do the things that we need to help those individuals. I'm all for that.
Thank you. Chad?
I was starting.
Oh, did you start? Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Well, you can do it again.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm from Springville, so you know.
We'll forgive you.
Yeah. So I think that we're trying to keep this to an hour, and we're about there, so we're going to give 1 minute to each of you to wrap up, and then we'll close this up. So we'll start with Dennis on this one.
You know, I'm glad I got the opportunity to come back and repent. I didn't mention who I was married to, and my wife. And I can't go home without doing that. She's a wonderful lady. I married Sherry Stallings. She's another true Spanish Farcan. We speak a different language, but all of us originals, you know, we have different language, but I really appreciate her and her sensitivity to everything goes on. You know, I've learned to listen to her because I can solve a lot of problems. She's sitting over here, and my children, 2 of my children are here. My daughter and my brother-in-law, I'd call a son. I had 2 children. We have 2 children, and one is a small business owner, and the other, she does well. I want my grandkids to be able to buy a house here in town and work too. You give me the opportunity, and I won't disappoint you. Thank you.
I've had the wonderful opportunity to serve our country for 20 years as an intelligence officer in the Army National Guard. I've been able to defend our freedoms and the things that we hold near and dear in our community, those values of honesty, hard work, and integrity. As a school teacher, I've been able to teach my students that over the past 15 years. In fact, just today I had my students sing happy birthday to me about 7 different times for my birthday that occurs tomorrow. And it's been neat to see my kids off at college, to see on social media where they're off at Utah State, where they're married and have children, where my grandson can play with the kids of my kids that I taught. I've been able to serve our community as a city councilman for the past few years, to be able to defend those values that we hold dear, those values that I've defended in foreign countries, those values that I defend in the classroom and teach and instill in the future of our community, which is the kids. They're growing and they're doing wonderful things. And I ask for your support to be able to do that for 4 more years. Thank you.
It's been a great 4 years. I've loved serving on the city council. The thing I've loved the most about it is meeting with you, meeting with the citizens, coming up with solutions. I'm a firm believer in local government, that the government closest to the people is the best kind of government. I love this community and love to serve, but I have an agenda. The agenda that I have is to simply continue on the track that we have as a city that is a good track of inviting business here to help have a great tax base, keep our taxes low as citizens. It's been an honor. It's changed me and my little family's life to be involved in this, but it's blessed us. It's overall blessed us. And I know you guys know that because whoever gets involved in the community in whatever capacity, I know you see those same blessings as well. So I'd be honored to serve again another 4 years. I'd work as hard that I've worked the last 4 years, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Thank you. Steve?
It's been a great honor to serve as a mayor the last 4 years for this great city. I enjoy going out and representing Spanish Fork and bragging about Spanish Fork. We have a great city here, great volunteers, great citizens, great employees. You know, my goal has been, let's have Spanish Fork where you don't have to leave town. You can shop here, you can have your entertainment here, you can recreate. We'll have plenty of restaurants for you to eat, and so you can just stay here and do the things you need to do. And I think we're heading that direction. When I came in and as a city councilman, we had one of the lowest property tax in the county. Fast forward now, we still are the lowest. And I really appreciate the work that we've done with the council that I've worked with. I'd appreciate your support. I love this city, and thank you for being here tonight.
Chad?
Simple put, Spanish Fork is a great place, safe, clean place to live and raise a family. I would like to represent you for the next 4 years, the citizens of Spanish Fork. Taxes are a big issue, and they will continue to be a big issue. And I want to be able to represent you at the city when that comes down to a budget. We just approved one of the largest budgets the Spanish Fork has ever had. And that will continue to grow as our city grows. We have to do that in order to support that. But I want to represent the citizens of Spanish Fork, and I will do that to the very best of my ability. I have no agenda. I just want to serve. I don't have something that I need to accomplish, but I want to continue to serve. I have enjoyed the last 2 years serving on the council, and I would like to continue to do that and ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say a couple things at the end. You've got some great gentlemen here running for office. I have had the opportunity to work with a number of them over the years. So I've been involved in our community, and yes, we do a lot of things together and get together quite often and talk about how we can make, this end of the county even that much better. So good luck with that. I would ask for your vote, but you can't unless you have friends in Springville, so you can tell them. Anyway, they'll all be hanging around, I think, for like 20, 30 minutes. So if you have questions, feel free to grab them and ask those questions. With that, I guess we'll stand adjourned.